All right, so I had a little bit of a scare earlier. It is storming here in Houston, Texas, of which the power just went completely out, but now it's back on. So we'll see if we'll be able to power through this and we'll be good. So I want to jump into today's content on a question I get commonly, which is how did you exactly make the shift from single family to multifamily? So you'll definitely want to stay tuned till the very end. All right, you know the next steps, my favorite people. Hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell. That way you can be informed moving forward. And those of you who are on other platforms, go ahead and leave that rating. It would mean the world. And those of you who can comment below and let me know where you are from along with the area code. So what city you're based out of as well as the area code too. Love hearing from you all. So yeah, let's go ahead and just jump right into things where if you're just now coming across me, yes, name is Sterling White, buy and hold investor. Started in the industry 2009 as a laborer. I was actually mixing the mortar, providing it to the bricklayers. So very boots on the ground on that as doing grunt work. And then shortly after that, I saw that the successful and utmost and wealthy and rich got that way by not being laborers. They actually were investors. And that's how I started why I got into single family home investing. Purchased 150 of those and then ended up making that transition entirely to multifamily in 2017. So today we're going to go into the story and how that was all put together. But at first, just started out with, let's go back in time, you guys. So when really purchasing that many single families, because started the company in 2014, and then the first year purchased about 5 or 10, and then things really just started to scale from there. And when you have that many properties under management, single families, especially scattered throughout the city, I've had most in Indianapolis and also several that were in Dayton, Ohio, that it's very labor intensive, management intensive of managing that many properties, and then also the infrastructure of the employees and team members that you have to be able to facilitate having that many transactions and a lot of that marketing. So at that point, took a step back and said, do we still steadily want to go on this path of having a portfolio of 1,000 single families, or what model is out there that actually makes the most sense that we can easily scale? And then it just came down to that it was a no-brainer with making that shift to buying apartments in multifamily, because you're really able to get that economies of scale. So the first step that was taken was making a decision. Made the decision, okay, no longer going to be acquiring single family homes, communicated that to the team that this is no longer the path that we're going to go. This is now the path. So first, made the decision. And then the second was the education phase and just understanding the lingo, because I'm a firm believer that when you're understanding, let's say the English language, for instance, there's only 20% that you actually need to know that'll give you 80% of the results or what you're looking to understand in the industry. And there's 80% of fluff that you need, that's good to know, but it's not something that you really need and something that is good to have from a knowledge standpoint. So that's what I've learned. So I wanted to understand, what is that 20% that I actually need to know in the industry? So what are cap rates? What is the net operating income? How do you underwrite the deals? Do you look at cash on cash, like looking at the cash on cash, the IR, which is the internal rate of return, how to be able to structure the deal? So finding out what that 20% was, and then just really started educating myself on that, being on biggerpockets.com, which is a free resource. And being on YouTube University, just drinking a lot of the Kool-Aid multifamily related, just to see what are the common the common things that people are saying that you actually need to know, and then started dialing in on that. And then another resource, a book that I read, which is MultiFamily Millions by David Lindahl. So from that took 30 days, well, excuse me, it was about 40, it was 60 to 90 days of just educating myself and understanding the lingo, understanding how to evaluate deals, how to underwrite the deals, how to find the deals. And then from there is the next was just simply taking the action. This is key because many people get stuck in the education phase and get into the analysis paralysis. But I'll tell you, the thing that really helped through this was just going out there and applying what I had learned, such as mentioned, within those 60 to 90 days, first made a decision, no longer want to be in single families and acquire those, now making the shift to multifamily. Okay, decision is made. Okay, what type of assets are we going to be targeting? Apartments between 30 to 50 units. Okay, in addition to that, what side of town are we going to look to acquire in? Okay, we're picking the south side of Indianapolis is where we want to go, in working class settings, where we would be able to look for properties that are distressed. So made the decision, and within making the decision, got very niche and targeted in the types of assets that we wanted. And then from there, started understanding the actual lingo. What are cap rates? How are properties valued? Is based upon the NOI. If the income is, let's say, $300,000, that's the net operating income, and you decide to do a evaluation of, let's say it's trading at a 5.5% cap rate basis on that type of property, then you can back into what the value of that asset is. So just understanding that terminology, and then after all that is just to start to take action. And then from there was going the traditional route of going through brokers. And with that is the several deals that we had on market. We were contacting all these brokers, establishing those relationships, and many of them actually didn't take us seriously. And even with the track record of the single family home deals, is they still, okay, well, you have no experience in multifamily, so really didn't get taken as seriously. And the offers that we would submit on the on-market deals weren't even close. People were paying 10, 15, 20% more than what we could. And we're trying to think, how exactly are they paying that much for that? Very interesting times. And this was back in the tail end of 2016, 2017. At the time of shooting this, it's even higher what people are actually paying for properties. And so from that this was over the course of 4 or 5, 6 months of doing the relationships with the brokers. Things weren't really penciling out, and myself started to get anxious and started to do research and take a step back and think, is there another approach that we could take? Yes, we can still steadily nurture those relationships with brokers, but do we just want to wait on the sidelines until a broker has a deal for us that we have to actually compete and potentially overpay for? So we decided through research, okay, why not go direct to the owner? And then that was the path that ended up taking, and that was my side of the business with, hey, Sterling, go figure out the acquisitions. And this is another thing with taking action was I looked at multiple channels. Okay, I know that you can do text blast, you can do direct mail, you can do calling, you can do bandit signs. So put up those signs up that we buy apartments or we buy houses. But I just decided why not just simply pick up the phone if I can get the owner's contact information and then ask them if they're looking to sell their property. And when I first started out I had no scripts. I just winged everything, which I would not recommend first starting out. And if you guys would like, we'll go ahead and drop a link just below to the script that we actually use. Well, to the script that you can use when you're doing outreach to owners. Then started to, at this point, look for properties that fit our criteria. So we were still nurturing relationship with brokers, and then decided, okay, well, how are we going to start to get these leads into our pipeline? And then the idea from the single family side is driving for dollars. So just look for properties that need work. So at that time, had a 2001 Honda Accord. Love those things. Great on gas mileage. So just simply hopped in my car and was driving around and looking for properties that needed work, and called on several properties and ended up finding one in particular that needed work. This was Garfield Place Apartments in Indianapolis. Have since sold this property, so I've gone full circle of purchasing it to renovating it, pushing up the value, and then exiting out of it to a 1031 buyer, which is one of the premier best buyers that you can go with. But I digress. Is that ended up found this property in particular, saw that it needed work. The parking lot looked like an alligator's back. It was a very bland property. And one thing is, this is all public information, is who actually owned that property. It was in an LLC, so found out who was the owner of that LLC, got their first and last name, and then through certain databases that's out there, one is truepeoplesearch.com, another is binverified.com, all these different sources out there that you can tap into to find just about anyone. And if I was not a full-time investor, I would definitely be an FBI agent, which is what my brother wants to be, an investigator, but is ended up getting their contact information and then simply picked up the phone and gave them the pitch. Hey, looking to, this is Sterling here, just drove past your property, wanted a person to reach out to consider if you consider selling. So kept it very transparent, straight to the point. And turns out this was actually their very last apartment that they were looking to sell. So that's how that very first deal was put together. It was seller financing. It was a purchase price of $900,000, and the owner carried back $700,000 because they owned the property free and clear, and put down $200,000 to acquire it, and negotiated that because one, they were motivated to sell the property, and then also we were able to convince that, hey, it's going to be very difficult for us to get outside financing due to the occupancy of this property, which was about 65%. So all those different factors is how we were able to negotiate that. And because I commonly see people say that, hey, I'm looking to get seller financing, where's that creative financing out there? Is that, yes, you can get that, but however, the person oftentimes has to be in a very motivated state in order to do that type of deal with you. And if they're not very motivated, they'll say, hey, I'd rather just get cashed out entirely and be done with the property, versus being strung along for 2, 3, 4 years or however long that the contract is for that you have with them. So those are just some tips that I wanted to give you insights on. But it all started with, at the beginning, is just making a decision that, hey, I want to be in multifamily. And then 2, the next step after that was understanding the lingo, educating yourself. But at the same time is not educating yourself for a very long time, is putting yourself on a deadline. That way you avoid the analysis paralysis. I don't want anyone on here falling into the analysis paralysis and blaming me for that. That's not going to be the case, you guys. Let's not do that. And the next is to take action. That is key. Committing first and then figuring the rest out later is, even still to this day, there's things that I don't necessarily know, but I'll make the commitment and then I'll take the necessary action and figure it out. You still want to educate yourself to protect your downside on the risk, because you don't want to just get into any deal, of course, because you're taking action. You want to educate yourself. And then also, if you can have a mentor or someone who's helping you along that can look over your shoulder, that is even more beneficial. So we'll love to hear from you guys. Are you in single family? Are you in multifamily at this moment? If so, go ahead and comment below on that. And as I alluded to, is just below there will be a link to the script that is used, of which when you're doing outreach to owners, because the key thing is just to be transparent and see, are they interested or they're not interested. It just comes down to that. And then if they are interested, are they motivated to where it makes sense for you? If someone is just looking to sell for the right price, or give them an offer they can't refuse, if you're a person that buys those type of deals, by all means, you can go that. But from my experience, those tend to not work. So I go for the people where there's actually a problem to be solved. So appreciate you all so much. And if you haven't already and you want to speak with myself or someone from my team to get additional insights on your businesses, I do strategy sessions where it's anywhere between about 30 to 45 minutes where we do a deep dive into your business. And towards the end, you'll have a game plan where you can go ahead and execute it on yourself. So go ahead, and in the link just below, there'll be a link to set up that strategy session. Until then, keep being awesome, you all. And just remember, we are all the creator of our destinies. Some people, such as myself, may have been in situations where I was dealt lemons, but it comes down to is what you decide to do with those lemons. I decide to make lemonade, but of course, sugar-free. Have a great one. Thank you.